what are some of the other experiences that you draw from when running a property management business?
One of the most important things is lease renewals. Tenants don't understand, and landlords often never do rent increases, and I don't understand why.
How is the dynamic there now that you have a team on your side?
The goal is to pay everybody $1 million. If everybody can make $1 million, that's great, because now you know by nature the company's making $100 million.
What are some upcoming projects that you both are excited to collaborate on?
This particular property, we had to buy it without approvals, so that was really scary.
So welcome back, folks. Thanks for joining us for episode 4 of Moments in Construction. Today we have none other than Tom Visaggio, along with Matt Prawdzik. I hope you're familiar with Prawdzik at this point. Today I want to introduce Tom Visaggio. He's joining us today from Viza Property Management. Very excited to have him join us today. Tom, take a minute to introduce yourself to us.
Sure. Tom Visaggio from Viza Property Management. We're a full-service property management company specializing in the management of mixed-use and multifamily properties in central to northern New Jersey. We started the business in 2018. Started by managing only our own properties, and then grew to managing for third parties, and now today we have about 150 units under management, anywhere from single families up to 15-unit buildings throughout the state of New Jersey.
Nice, very exciting stuff. Okay, well, there's a lot I want to ask you throughout the show today, but as usual, I'd like to first ask you how you met Matt and how did that interaction come about?
Yeah, well, weren't we in homeroom together in 8th grade?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. Matt came, he was in my homeroom. We, I think, had an instant connection because Matt loved to work out, and so did I.
Nobody can compete on Tommy's level until I showed up.
That's what I also hated about him.
Wait, tell us about the pull-up story.
Oh, that was a good one.
That is nuts because I swear to God, I wrote it down. I said I
told that story before.
Wow. And I didn't know I must have really showed a
All
lot of
right,
emotion.
so just to illustrate a little bit about their competitiveness back in 8th grade, enlighten us on what the pull-up story is.
You can tell, Tommy.
I mean, there's
two sides to the story. There's two sides to the story. Yeah.
There's a fitness protocol where you test 5 things every single year. I forget what they were. One was like stretching, then there's push-ups, pull-ups, a mile run, and then sit-ups. And from 5th grade to 7th grade, I think I came in first place in the pull-up thing and first place in the overall, like across the board when you average everything out. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of like didn't try as hard because I felt like I'm just beating everybody, I'm cruising, and now I'm the oldest, I'm in 8th grade, it's going to be easier than ever to win this event in full. And then Matt shows up, and he doesn't play any sports. He's like kind of dorky, he plays a lot of video games, but for some reason, this guy could do 20 pull-ups straight. And at that point, I was only on like 16 or 17.
That was so funny.
So,
that was a good story.
So he took the gold in the pull-ups, but I took the gold in the overall test. I just want to point that out for everybody.
Yeah.
Understand
That's true.
Set the record straight.
Yeah.
So is that where the first interaction was? It was in homeroom, or this is where he went on the radar for you? Where exactly did this fall in?
I don't remember.
The storyline of your friendship.
Long time ago. But 8th grade was definitely the start.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then high school was fun as fuck. That was like a clique in and of itself, like with Vinny and Kuba and all them. That was a whole nother. Well, that was awesome.
Me and Matt had a lot of fun, especially when we started going to Quest Fitness on Route 17 in Hasbrook Heights. Mm-hmm. That's where we really fell in love with working out and just like lifting weights. But the worst part about it, anytime I wanted to go to the gym with Matt, I had to call his house phone because he refused to buy a cell phone.
Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone until senior in high school.
So I had to call. We're like 17 years old. I'm talking to his mom. I was like, hey, can you put Matt in the phone? I would like to go work out.
That was awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and even before that, we didn't even, I think we started working out there before we had licenses. So we had to always get our parents to drive us to and from. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then we had a scavenger hunt story in high school, Dairy Queen, when he used to work at Kilroy before it became Segovia. Oh my God, there's so many. Vinny's house parties. Oh my God,
yeah,
that was a whole nother story.
But probably the best thing was like going cliff jumping. That was a lot of fun.
Cliff jumping, that's a whole nother one.
Man.
Hiking.
Yeah, snowboarding.
when we got lost in the woods for whatever 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah,
Tommy had
I'll
a
never
panic
forget
attack.
that. It doesn't take much to get me into a panic attack. I'll just point that out. But we were going on a hike. We were gonna go cliff jumping at a spot we've never been to before, and there's 2 different trails you could take. One was like green, and the other was yellow. And we thought that the green one would be easier, right? Where in fact the yellow one was a straight shot. It was like a 30-minute hike right to the place we wanted to go.
Yeah, it was more difficult in difficulty,
Yes.
but the trail was straight shot. So instead of going directly there, not directly, but obviously the shorter route, we ended up going around the whole forest, like 5.5 hours.
It was a 4-mile hike in the middle of summer and 100 degrees, and it was not straight. It was
and we had
up,
half a
down.
bottle of water left.
Yeah, but nobody knows.
I
Well,
would've
everybody knows
freaked
because I
out.
said it. But
We started dialing
we
911.
were 3 hours in, and I was pretty sure somebody was gonna die. I said it was not gonna be me. So what I did was I slowly backed up from the pack, which was just me, Matt, and Christian, another guy we were friends with, and I drank all the water as fast as I could. I said somebody's gonna die. It's not gonna be me.
But it was fun. That was a good time.
And then we finally came up on civilization, and yeah, but our phones were gonna die. I was really, really panicking because the thing was, you couldn't just turn back, especially not myself in that frame of mind, because you had to find the markers on the trees, and if not, you had to like literally go straight across to get to a road, but it's impossible with all the brush, right? So
Yeah.
that's probably my closest near death experience.
Yeah, it was fun. That was fun.
That's so funny.
That was like the first time we ever went. Like, I think we pioneered the cliff jumping in our school.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people always went to like the same spot. And I don't even think it was a spot. It was just like whatever. But then I was like, in high school, I'm like, fuck it, let's try different spots. We went to one in Pennsylvania. We went to Blackbridge, which was by Pennsylvania.
Where would you find these? You would just search them up? And
Yeah, on
they'd
like
come
forums
up?
and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, they don't give you direction. They just give you coordinates. But the problem is the coordinates, you lose GPS signal. So you only know where to start when you're on the road, because the road is what gives you the signal. And once you start going into an area, you lose signal. So it's good luck. Figure it out. But you know that it's there, right?
That was his job. I didn't worry about any of that.
Yeah.
I just showed up.
Yeah.
I knew Matt was gonna get
It
us
was
there.
fun.
It's interesting to hear this too, because I feel it sheds a lot of light on your current dynamic. Even though it's been years since 8th grade, I see a little bit of your personality still come through to now, like
Yeah,
risk taking versus more risk averse, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some places that were just easier to get to, like the Blackbridge was like
Yeah.
right off the road, but that was sketchy as fuck because it was literally a bridge. It's called Blackbridge, but the bridge is not like a regular bridge that's like this, right? It's like the railroad bridge. So it's like plank space. You can fall through if you miss your step. So it's like, it was it's whatever. It was cool.
I was
It's
letting
kid
Matt
shit.
walk across first.
Yeah, I was gonna
And I
say.
always jump. I'm always the one that jumps first. All these fucking pussies, they don't jump. I have to fucking jump. So, but yeah. And then anyway, after I go, it's like, I'm going to jump exactly right there. If he survives, I'm going to survive. But it's fun,
You guys are wild. So, all right, at this point, you've gotten a taste of his personality. You guys are good friends. Walk us through the transition from good friends to business partners to, this next phase in your career right now. How did that evolve over time?
I think me and Matt both had jobs right out of college, or even I was in college. I think
I had the lifeguard story too. Oh my
Oh,
God,
yeah,
there's so many fucking.
we were both lifeguards together.
We need an episode just on your life stories.
There's
I
so
feel
many
like that would be
stories.
so fun.
In the lifeguard certified course, you had to pass an exam, and one of the exams was
right.
you had to pretend save somebody, right? And everybody else in the pool because you had to partner up and save the person.
Yeah.
Everybody else in the pool was just like,
remember this.
I'll swim back up with you. I'll make it super easy. And this guy just drops like a ball of lead to the bottom of an 8-foot pool.
For real.
Like a dead body.
Yeah.
And I had to go down there, open up my eyes, and push him up, jump off the bottom of the pool to get him to the surface.
That was fun.
I was like, I earned my certification that day.
I swam to the bottom. I'm like, you're going to get me from the bottom here.
Yeah, what was your thought process there? Why, first of all?
It was fun. I was a good swimmer. He was a good swimmer.
Did you even give him the heads up
I
that you
don't
were
know,
going to
I
do
forgot.
this?
I think it was I forgot how it went.
Yeah.
But one person jumps in, and then after a certain time, the other person jumps in. I think after a certain point, Tommy jumped in, and I was just at the bottom. I also don't float very well.
Got it.
I'm not.
Yeah, it's
I'm
more
not
like
very
Navy SEAL
buoyant.
training.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not
I know
very
a little
buoyant.
bit about that. Gotcha. Okay. Alrighty. So then at what point you guys, friends in high school, throughout high school, college, and then post-college?
You went to Montclair right away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to BCC, then dropped out. And I again, after BCC, then I tried to get Tommy a job at Cafe Matisse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that was a fucking long time ago. Holy shit.
But we always kept up to date with what each other were doing, right? We always had the interest in finance, in
He
stocks.
wanted to be a cop.
Yeah,
it started as stocks.
Yes.
I remember this. This was at his pool.
Yep.
Yes, this is, oh my God, this is like reminiscing. But pool, then it was, Tommy eventually found an internship working for the developer he works at now. And then, again, that was long time ago. And then after a while, he obviously did his thing. Then we did a deal together, whatever. And again, it was a different perspective, right? Tommy was always buy and hold, and I was just instant equity because I was riding the market, So it was a different perspective. But obviously, when Tommy worked a full-time job, went to school and stuff like that, he couldn't, put the pedal to the metal like we did, right? Because we had to just constantly, survive. It was my full-time thing, right?
But I think that I remember Matt did his first couple single-family flips, and we were just starting to go to networking events. I remember going to McLuhan's Boathouse in West Orange.
Was that your first one?
Yeah. And then I simultaneously did my first deal, which is a 2-family fix and flip in Bayonne. And
God,
we weren't working
story.
together at that point, but just staying constantly talking and about the things that we were doing and keeping up to date. And Matt was a builder and he was already doing that stuff himself, so I brought him over to my 2-family fix and flip. And it was just the most disgusting renovation you would ever think. My renovation, once it was done, had to be renovated. You had to start all over from scratch.
Was atrocious.
Yeah, we still made money on it.
And he still made money. And he still sold it. He did a sheriff bidding sale, right? Where he listed it for so low. And he had how many offers? 30 offers?
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was crazy. But anyway, it's
So-
the time of the market.
So then that happened. But the first thing we actually did together, I knew that I wanted to, like you said, buy and hold. I always wanted to be buy and hold because I felt like so long as you buy properties at the right price and you manage them competently, no matter what, you're going to be in the green and you're going to eventually be, enormously wealthy over many, many years. So I said, no matter what, I'm just going to do that and focus on that and make it happen. And I was going to manage them. Matt was going to do all the construction, very basic. Matt bought his first 2-family in the city of Garfield, and I managed that for him. And, but I knew literally zero, right? I knew nothing about anything.
We ended up renting it to somebody we went to high school with, or her mom or
By
something.
accident.
By accident.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That was weird too. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But that was fun. No, there's so many stories.
But that was the very first way we were actually in business together. And then from then on, we bought our first 2-family together. And then from that, it was kind of off to the races.
Yeah.
But wow, there was a lot of mistakes that were made. But the good thing about when you're doing deals for yourself is that you can afford to make mistakes because it's not for a third party who's expecting a lot of you. We both knew we were going to be, this is a first time thing. We don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to go. But luckily, we made a lot of the mistakes early, and
And it was always the bad cop, good cop dynamic. Always.
You obviously the good cop and you the bad cop.
Always. Again, it always worked out. It never, no matter what, whether it was the deal, whether it was the tenants, whether it was the situation, it always worked out. Always worked out. Anywhere from the most recent encounter, which is dealing with tenants currently with in Newark, right, or in the past with doing lease increases. It always started with Tommy trying to talk to them, and then I would show up, and then that would always lead them to do something, and it was always that.
The good thing is though, they would think I'm angry or mean or have something against me whenever I try to enforce something something part of a lease agreement, and then I introduce them to Matt. And then they appreciate me all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
So again, it always works out. There always needs to be.
They're yeah, Tom, whatever you say. I just don't want to deal with that guy anymore. No problem.
So, all right, it sounds like you both bring a little bit of your own personality, while different, complement each other a little, very well, I'd say. So, can you talk to me a little bit more about that? What are the characteristics that Matt has that complement you well, and vice versa, Matt?
Who's first?
Go ahead.
Again, like you said, they're risk adverse versus risky. I can just tolerate more risk. I handle pressure a little bit more. I think Tommy takes more calculated measures. I'm more like a shoot than aim type of guy, right? I mean, it's changed, obviously, but I'm talking like from the beginning, how it got to this point. I think another big aspect is the fact that Tommy was always, again, more conservative in the sense of like underwriting. So in terms of the deal, it was a little different, right? But he understood the concept that you can out underwrite yourself out of any deal. So after a certain point, you just need to do a deal, right? A lot of people, it's always like that in every deal, and every person you meet, they're like, oh yeah, what if this happened? Like, who cares? Just do it, right? And you can negotiate against yourself and get out of a deal and never do a deal in your life because you're just always scared and underwriting too much. So again, I was always like, just do it, figure it out later. He's more of like let's try to account for stuff. Another thing is just like personality-wise, again, in terms of just maybe strategic planning or execution. Again, Tommy's very good at getting shit done. Like, he'll just get it done, right? I'm more of I try to do a lot, right? A lot at once, and sometimes I, take on a little bit too much at one go. So sometimes relying on someone to help me execute is good. In terms of personality, like, I'm more of not a hard head. I guess you can say that. I'm stubborn, but not stubborn. But like, I know how to ease people into getting kind of what I want. Tommy's more of like the good cop. Like, people appreciate him once they see both personalities. So again, there's a lot of differences. They're subtle. Some are subtle, some are not. But more often than not, it's kind of that balance, that yin and yang that works out. Something like me and Hugo, right? On another level, different type of aspect, but same kind of situation.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of right now. I mean, I'm sure there's 100 other ones, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever would have done a deal, honestly, had it not been for Matt by myself, because I never felt comfortable having jumped into it completely by myself. And I just felt like a very deep comfort level, just knowing how long I've known Matt and how many things that we've done together. That, you know what I mean, God forbid anything happens, we get foreclosed, anything can happen. I know at least I'm with Matt, I'm going to be able to figure it out, not by myself, but with somebody I know and trust a long time. So after we did the first deal, I felt even more comfortable and more confident. And from then on, I just knew that, I'll do as many deals as long as I'm in it with Matt, because I know that everything's going to work out. I know he's an expert in the construction, and I know that, anytime there's an emergency in the middle of the night, he's going to answer the phone, and somehow, some way, we're going to figure it out. Whatever the situation.
Just thinking quickly, what is the worst situation you feel like we've been in?
Well, getting the Peabody situation was pretty terrible when we had.
Oh yeah.
That
was bad.
You had blocked it out of your memory altogether.
It's easier for him to block it out. He was in Florida on vacation when it went down.
Yeah.
You take vacation?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
he was in Miami.
One time, yeah.
I think with Alan.
Yeah. We've done a couple trips together. That was pretty bad.
But even, for example, 120 Peabody. We had a terrible tenant in there. I don't know how, I never would have accepted her had I known what I know today, right? I didn't have the procedures. I didn't know anything.
They're different.
And it was in COVID, and she wasn't paying rent for 3 months. So I did what I don't even do today. I literally drove over there, like knocked on her door. Today, we do everything legally speaking. We don't mess with that. We don't put ourselves in stupid situations, right? But I was very stupid at the time and didn't have as many properties and really needed the money to be able to pay the mortgages. So I'm like, I'm going to go talk to this girl because I thought I had a relationship with her. She seemed very normal any past times that I went there. So when I knocked on her door, she just wasn't answering. But I heard her on the other side.
That's always the case.
So I said, Nicole, can you come out here? I just want to talk to you. I called her and I heard her phone ringing on the other side of the door. And I'm like, Nicole, can I come in? Would you mind if I come in real quick? And, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done it, right? But I put the key in. I was like, but you know what? This is not good. I shouldn't go in. I'm just going to leave. Forget about it. But when I took the key out, I heard like footsteps, like thudding coming toward the door. And I'm like, oh, nice. At least I'm going to get to talk to her now. And then she comes out, waving a pistol in my face, saying, she's like, oh, put the key in the door one more effing time and you're going to see what happened, right? Yeah. So I almost fall over myself. I never even seen a gun before, And I run down the block, and she made sure I ran down the block too. You know, she was like stood at the top of the door showing it to me.
Oh, high and mighty.
But the worst part about it was my car was parked right in front of the house. So I had to like just wait and then eventually walk back right in front of the house where she was watching me and drive away. And then I called Matt, who couldn't care less because he was drunk in Miami having the time of his life.
Yeah, when was this? Was this? No, this was in the.
Just can't even remember. That's what I'm talking about. But that was probably one of the worst situations. But there's been plenty of other difficult tenant situations of people who we were trying to like guide out, or properties that were supposed to be vacant where you had random people there who are not supposed to be there. Where you know, anytime I would go there with Matt, I would let him go in first.
I'm the enforcer.
You're,
Like
or
open
the
this
test
fucking
dummy.
door. Open this fucking door. Oh my God, there's so many situations like that.
Yeah, or even like a lot of times when you're going into a vacant apartment, a lot of people say they're going to vacate on a certain date, and a lot of times you inherit tenants that might be crazy or you don't know what, and they say they're going to vacate on a certain day, but you have no idea. You just have to show up and hope that they're gone. You know what I mean? So anytime those situations, I bring Matt just in case. And I know I'm faster than him. I know if I could outrun him.
As long as you can outrun him,
You can't
you're
outrun
good.
a bullet, bro. You run towards the
No, I
gun.
can't outrun a
Always.
bullet, but I could
Always
definitely
you
outrun
run
Matt,
towards
and
the
that's like half the battle. So.
You always go in. A knife and a gun, you always go in. You just have to deflect. If you get slashed, you get slashed. It is what it is.
I could always turn on him.
I can tell you've both spent time thinking on this, how you would escape this scenario.
I would
Does this happen usually with tenants, or is just this one off? Or
it's one
do you ever
one-off.
feel unsafe?
It's gotten to a certain volume
Yeah.
where we don't put ourselves in that situation anymore.
Yeah.
And during COVID, it was like you could go 2 to 3 years like insane without being able to remove a tenant legally.
Yeah.
So there's nothing you could do. Today, it's not the case. You could get a court date in a reasonable amount of time, and like putting yourselves in a terrible situation is just it never really was necessary, but today it especially is not. You know what I mean? So as long as you're a responsible landlord and you're doing your job, and there's no reason why the tenant should be withholding rent, and you're fast in sending out legal notices when the time is right, you know, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And as long as you put the right people in, which we've done a great job of doing in the last couple of years, the right
the
tenants.
processes have improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just gotta. Sometimes people take advantage. That's just what it is. People think they're smarter than they are. It's always like that. It's always the same characteristic of person. They always think they're smarter than everybody else.
But what's worth noting though is I would have said 90% of our tenants are amazing. Most of my time is spent dealing with 10% of people who want to be issues. 90% of the people are wonderful. Doesn't matter where they live, how much money they make. They all have families, and they don't even want to talk to their landlord, because who wants to talk to their landlord? They want to like take care of their family and just like live a normal life.
Yeah.
And they pay their rent, and they're very respectful anytime they talk to us. So that's why like people look at being a landlord as like, oh my God, dealing with tenants. Yeah, those 10% of people, it is the worst thing in the world, but that's part of the game. But it just, you know, they sometimes get a bad rep, even though they definitely shouldn't, you know?
Right.
And,
a lot of good people.
And in Jersey, it's literally like the entry. Now the barrier of entry is insanely high. Because if you get a 2-family, let's say hypothetically it's worth $600,000, and you have to rent each unit for $3,000, $2,800, and one person doesn't pay, forget about it. You're underwater, right? It's like the barrier of entry nowadays is so high that in Jersey specifically, in this northeast pocket of Jersey, you get destroyed. So putting the right people in place is like vital. It's so important, and that's why Tommy and his team does a very good job at that. And obviously, like you said, the procedure has gotten better. But I'm also a believer in the stories that we've said. You have to experience it. You don't know what to do until you put yourself in that situation. And you have to.
Not only that, but you have to have put yourself in those situations to know what kind of situations you could afford to put your own team members in, right?
Yes.
Because I would never put somebody boots on the ground in that same position I was willing to put myself in 3 years ago, because there's no reason to. But at the same time, you have to know when the time is right to show face, because a lot of times certain tenants start behaving differently when they know the property's not being watched, right? So you just have to be strategic in knowing how often to send somebody there, when they should go, even just doing annual inspections. Just be like, yes, we are still here. You've paid your rent. You haven't reached out to us, so there's no reason really for us to be doing anything. But we're here doing an annual inspection because we own the property. Want to make sure there's no crazy lease violations going on, and just show you that we care, right? We still, just because you're paying rent, we want to make sure everything in here is still up to par with what we want it to be.
Yeah, it's like a mini feedback review. You know, like what can we improve? What can we not improve? What would you like to do? Like we gave gift cards out to people on Christmas for giving us a little review. Again, was it bullshit? It wasn't. Was most of it like just whatever, like just click through probably, but still like, you know, getting the feedback or letting people know like, hey, like we care about your feedback because you are paying us. Like we charge a premium because we provide a premium service, right? And so that's why we care about making sure our service is the best.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And I think the cool thing now is seeing the other end of the spectrum, just the evolution and the growth that has happened because of the mistakes that you both have learned from. And so, one, it's cool to see the confidence that you both have gained in addition to the learnings. So, I want to shift the conversation a little bit. Tommy, maybe ask you more specifically. You know, all these learnings that you've gotten hands-on experience, what are some of the other experiences that you draw from when, you know, running a property management business? Share a little bit more about that and your background specifically.
Well, I mean, the three main parts of property management is rent collection, leasing, and repairs and maintenance. I guess one of the most important things is lease renewals, right? A lot of times tenants don't understand, and landlords often who self-manage never do rent increases. And I don't understand why, because it's incredibly detrimental to the landlord because you're not keeping up with inflation. Everything else is going up. Real estate taxes, like the cost of gas, sending out your contractors, everything. Yeah. And when you keep that in place, you're just making lesser net cash flow every single year. But not only that, the value of your property is staying the same. You're not really appreciating because the value of your property generally is subject to how much cash is being produced. You could say in the 1 to 4 families that's not the case, but ultimately investors, that's what they look for. How much is it generating? And from a tenant standpoint, it's really not right to the tenant because ultimately, eventually, that property is going to be sold to someone else, and they're going to say, "I'm bringing this rent up to market, right? Whatever the market is, that's what I want it to be. That's what I'm entitled to. And if you're not willing to pay it, then somebody else is, right?" So then, oftentimes, a property is sold, and then a tenant might have to pay like a 20% increase, right? So I think lease renewals, doing recurring lease renewals annually at reasonable pricing, subject to the CPI or whatever the market rent is incredibly important, and also the way message is delivered to the tenant, right? Why are we asking for it? And the thing is, even if maybe the tenant is really either unable to afford it or just unwilling to pay it, right? They say, "I don't think it's worth it." Okay, we let them know like 60 days in advance so they have more than enough time to work something out, right? And even if they maybe need 30 more days, we say, "Okay, you know, no problem, 30 more days. We'll keep it the same rent, and then you could leave," right? So I try to be very cognizant and understanding of tenant situations because everybody's financial situation is different. But ultimately, like the price is subject to what the market, right? What is somebody willing to pay? It's like anything else in the world. People want to say, "Oh, landlord is greedy, raising the rent," but guess what? If you're too high, no one's going to rent your apartment. You're just going to stay vacant. You're not going to make any money, right? So I think it is very fair to ask for market value, and I think that's a thing that a lot of tenants don't understand, and thing that a lot of landlords have a tough time doing on their own because they want to be the good guy, and they don't want to have those difficult conversations.
Yeah, don't work. Like prime example, Tommy nailed it on the head over there because it's like you ask for an increase, but you have to provide value. Always, it's like doesn't matter whether it's property management services, right? Like, "Hey, Tommy," or "Hey guys, can you guys manage our project, right? We're tired of doing this managing of 1 or 2 or 4 little homes we have. Do it for us. What value can we provide for the money that you're charging?" Again, there's an exchange of value. A lot of these landlords, you know, don't go with that mindset. They just say, "I want more money because I can't afford to pay." Well, I don't give a fuck what you want. Tell me why I'm going to be paying you more money, right? And if I don't want to pay you the more money, then good luck kicking me out in Jersey, right? I'll milk it till I have to leave anyway, right? So the key is to make sure you provide value. So when we do it, we always make sure that, again, we have that good cop, bad cop dynamic because somebody needs to be the hammer. Somebody needs to say, "Listen, this is what it is. You like it or not, we're going to give you more value. Tell us what you'd like. What did the old landlord not do for you? What can we improve on? Where can we improve on? What can you afford? Why can you not afford this? Is there any possibility we can work something out? Do you want to do a concession or something like that?" Like it's all open book in terms of talking it out because the last thing you want to do is go to court and or have someone that doesn't pay and or let the property sit vacant or the units vacant because all it takes is a good 2, 3, 4 months of vacancy. And then it doesn't matter. You might as well just kept the person at the same rent because you would have made more money, right? So vacancy rates are super, super important to track, and not rates, but specifically just vacancy, because some people get so gung-ho about having a certain rent that they forget that if it's vacant, you're not making anything. So that's always in consideration. But anyway, long story short, or the main point of what I said was that you need to have an exchange of value. Ask for an increase, but always give something back. You have to show them that the money you're charging them is going to go back into the building. Like, I want to add value for you first. I'm not here just laughing my way to the bank with your money, so that's kind of, so yes, Tommy's right. I think out of the 3 components, leasing and lease renewals is top of top in the priority. So, but yeah.
Time check.
You guys have 18 minutes. Tommy, can you just move up a little bit? Yeah.
That's what we're doing?
Yeah, just like your body a little bit, because I feel like the mic is covering a little bit of your chin on the camera.
Good.
Yeah, you're good. Or lower it a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you guys are good.
Okay. Is there certain direction you want us to go to that we haven't covered? Keep going.
I mean, I could keep talking. We can.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just wanted to.
Stories are
18
good.
minutes, so just
Yeah.
be mindful of that.
Are we doing any segments, or that's just we're going to talk until the end?
Well, there's a bunch of bullet points. I don't know what was covered already. I wasn't
Yeah.
zoned out for a second.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay, so we can keep going. So far it's history with Matt, Tommy's personal background, beginning stages of the rental team, the importance of rental units, and the impact on project. So, I think I'd like to spend.
Yeah, I want to talk about team events.
Yeah.
I want to talk about collaborations.
Yeah. So
the team growth.
Let's do that.
Why he picked certain people he works with now.
Okay.
All that kind of stuff.
Let's do that. All right. So, as we kind of touched on before, both of you started by yourselves, started working together, and then, learn the mistakes on your own that you needed to learn before taking on a team. Now you both have teams. What's the difference there? How is the dynamic there now that you have a team on your side?
Well,
You can go, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's been incredible identifying the right people to work with. I mean, that's the most important thing, right? So everybody I work with are people that I went to high school with. We have Tyler. He's the first person that actually joined me, and not only in the business but also investing, right? We've done a lot of investments together, so we're partners as much as he works for Viza in the property management sector. And then after that, actually joined his younger brother Chandler. And then beyond that, also Ryan Lemon, who was like my quarterback in high school. So, obviously, we were all friendly with each other, right, for many years. So having the ability to work with people who you really like to be around and who work just as hard as you and can see the future and what it is and are willing to put in the extra hours and put a lot of care into what they're doing beyond somebody who you might just have found who's looking to make a paycheck. I mean, that is just the most important part in the world. I mean, because it makes me excited because I already like what I'm doing, but now I get to do what I like with people that I like and, hopefully make them enormously successful over a long period of time. I was like, at first, it was like, okay, it was selfish, right? When I first started, I'm going to make money, I'm going to do this, and then I'm never going to have to work again, right? Now, my goal is to obviously, I want to do well, but I want to do well for those guys more so than anything, right? So it's like just another layer of motivation on top of what I already had, I think that's huge.
Yeah, abundance mindset, very, very important. Because by nature, if the goal is to pay everybody $1 million, if everybody can make $1 million, that's great because now by nature the company's making $100 million. If the company is making $100 million, it has the room to grow to $1 billion, and the people can make more money, right? So it's reverse psychology. You have to kind of look at it the other way because a lot of people that are old and stubborn or that have the very, very narrow mindset of I want to get rich and I want to retire. Listen, in the North Jersey market, you can have 2, 3 family homes and you can live and travel the world and you will never have to work a day in your life ever again. So there's literally you can be that or you could be a megalodon and just be have property on property on property and still not be happy, right? Because again, money is not the root of fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from the people that you work with, doing what you like, growing it, and over time becoming wealthy. And I think a lot of people, when they think of this game, or because it's a big game, right? Money is just a way to keep score. How much revenue, profit you make, that's just your scoreboard, right? The business itself, growing the business, is the root of it. Money is just a byproduct to keep score. And a lot of people come into this quote unquote game of development and game of real estate or whatever you want to call them. I don't want to sound like an investor or anything like that, just a business person. It's very difficult to get people to understand, like, this is going to take a very long time. Like, you're not going to do a deal or two and then retire. Like, that's not how it works. Like, this is going to take 10, 15, 20 years for you to actually work into something, right? And granted, a lot of, companies that, you make the wrong decision and you work for a company you don't like to work in, or you get hired for a position you don't like to do, it feels like work. Whereas if you work for someone within a team you like to work in, or a role that you fit personality-wise and things that you like to do, right? Being the driver of the ship, or AKA the CEO, hiring A players is the biggest, most important thing. Putting them in the right position and making sure that they collaborate right with the rest of the team, that's like the top of importance, right? Money aside, I mean, you can make or lose money. That's just means you're winning or losing and keeping a score of that. But like Tommy said, on our side specifically, hiring the right people, because A players want to work with other A players. Nobody wants to work with a lazy fuck. Nobody wants to work with some guy that's putting in 80% while you're putting in 120%, right? It's only going to make the person that puts 80% eventually see themselves out, because they're not going to fit the culture of the company, right? So, like Tommy said, you like to be successful, but the success comes internal when you see other people that you like be successful as well. So
I think it makes me a lot better too, just because I feel like, now I have those guys looking at me. Any decision I do, anything, how I work, any decisions I make, also I think about, okay, how's this not only going to impact myself and the company and the tenants, but also how's it going to impact these guys, right? So I try to keep them in mind now with every major decision that I make, whether it be buying a new property or how I'm going to market or how I'm going to spend certain marketing dollars, right? Ultimately, what are the plans for now and the future, right? So I think it's just a totally different dynamic that I wasn't expecting, and only came to experience it, when I'm now working with other people.
Yeah, and tying it back to the services side, you can't grow a third-party property management portfolio of, again, things that you don't own, but you're doing it for other people without a team, right? If you were to expecting to do yours and growing your portfolio, but also growing outside assets under management, you become like very, very difficult for you to do it by yourself. So it comes down to building the core business practice and business model through making a shit ton of mistakes, through making sure that you do the things that people don't like to do, to learn from that stuff. And like Tommy said, not put your team in positions of certain things. And then later offering that service like we do for third-party people, right? Whether it's the maintenance, again, leasing, or a combination of any aspect of the property management side, right? And that's why that became a whole nother revenue stream for us, because it's like, hey, listen, like, we've built something here. Like, this is impactful. Like, we can grow this to something that's way bigger than what it is now. We just need to have the revenue and aka the money to drive the fuel, right? Because you can only do so much with so many units, right? After a certain point, you need to get other units to be able to grow your team more and more and more. You're not going to have 100 people to manage 100 units, right? You need 100 people to manage 10,000 units, right? And it's just a business mindset change. So, but yeah.
Right. So on that note, people might ask, oh, you're home builders. Why do you own rental properties? Do you want to share a little bit more about why it makes sense for us? And Tommy, what role you've played within that growth and portfolio management?
So I'm going to shed some light, and Tommy can say something too, but
Sure.
It was like growing a business within a business. So I wanted Tommy to always start his own thing because it just made the most sense, right? Eventually, it grew to something bigger, right? With hiring a team, and he's just doing his own thing. I mean, he works like a workhorse. Again, we all know that. He has his hands in so many different pots, but at the end of the day, growing the business of property management, and that branch was always a great thing. And that's what led us to being able to acquire more on our balance sheet in terms of rentals, which is like the backbone of every company, right? Like I was explaining to Brandon today, You need a balance sheet to have a P&L, and you need a P&L to have a balance sheet. Your assets on your balance sheet stay as assets until you actually realize or liquidate or do something with them, and then they get transferred over to your P&L. Whether it's liquidation of the property, whether it's rents, whether it's appreciation, depreciation, all these simple things that having assets to back your company are very important, right? As home builders, we have many aspects of assets, right? We have the actual properties. We have our accounts receivable through different contracts. We have internal wholesales that we have contracts locked in for, external wholesales, property management revenue, all these different branches of accounts receivable or stuff like that we're going to get through the door, which is the reason why we're able to have that, right? Because we're driving then the P&L. That's later going to fuel the growth to have a bigger property management team. That's later going to drive the growth to be able to, if we want to, buy more long-term assets to hold. That will drive the balance sheet. That will drive the P&L, and the full circle will go around. So that's why we do it, to have a stronger backbone, make ourselves sustain any type of market conditions that happen, because we don't know where the market's going to go. It might drop 80 points tomorrow, So
Yeah.
Create a healthy life cycle. And then, Tommy, what role have you and your team played within this growth?
I mean, as far as home building, just taking a back seat and watching the show unfold. I mean, very little. We're in all the team meetings, or many of the team meetings, so we see a lot of the ways in which things are done and the operations that are in place. But one thing I do know is, no matter how much planning, how diligent of a home builder you are, financially, whatever, the cash inflows and outflows, it's impossible to match them up, right? So the ability to have a portfolio of stable income that's coming in every single month, roughly it's going to be about the same every single month, and you could count on that money to be there. I think that's incredibly important in that world, right? And also, ultimately, all it is, it's a yield, right? Whatever amount of money that Matt leaves in the properties after he refinances them, and he's earning a return off that, right? He's getting a yield, but every 3 to 5 years, let's assume he's going to refinance and pull out some non-taxable dollars, whether use that to buy another property and earn additional revenues, or put it into his home builder business. I think it's good to have the diversity, not just in the type of property, but also the different locations, right? Because a lot of the home builders, I think, is in home building properties, more affluent markets, and all the rentals are in more like urban, like city environments where it's like a lower median household income. So anytime you have more diverse income, it lowers your overall risk profile, which I think makes him more interesting to lenders as well when he's looking to raise money from traditional banks or whatever have you. I think it's good for your overall credit profile.
Yeah,
to Prawdzik.
It's needed. It's a must. Because if the market, again, there's so many builders that get so trigger happy on instant equity and sales, like they're like, oh my God, look at all this money I'm going to make. And like Tommy said, your budget and what you actually spend almost never adds up. Never. Like it's very difficult. I mean, listen, being within a 10% margin is still really good, right? Because in construction, anything can go south. Anything can go south. But yeah, it's not about me or Tommy. It's about we. Tommy has the same kind of mentality, and it's transformed, which is great. Being the leader of a business, you care about others instead of yourself. And as you grow, it's only going to amplify that. And you try your best to hire the right people that have your same mindset, because if you have the same mindset, then you're going to hire someone with the same mindset, and that's what's going to keep the company growing, right? Having that multi-tier leadership or multi-tier organizational chart, right? So, but yeah, that's pretty much why owning assets and having different asset classes within your balance sheet is very important, because it's your backbone.
Yeah. So we've learned a little bit about your background, where the team and the growth is at now. What are some upcoming projects that you both are excited to collaborate on? What are the next steps?
Yeah, 22 North King, ideally. I mean, 22 North King is a project that it was a vacant 3-story brick building. At one point, it was O'Hara's Tavern. And it's a really cool building because it's got really high ceilings, and it's right on the waterfront, on the street facing the waterfront in Gloucester City. Right across from it is a Philadelphia, skyline. And this particular property, we had to buy it without approvals, so that was really scary. Because ultimately, we could have bought this. It wasn't. We needed a use variance to convert it to residential apartments. The permitted use was like only commercial, but we were getting it at such a good price where we felt the risk merited. The reward merited the risk. So we closed on it. Although we did have a meeting with the town, but that could go. That doesn't mean very much. So we went in there and we got it approved for 7 residential units with like 1,300 square feet of retail space on the ground floor. And we're now, like 40% of the way through construction at this point.
Yeah, we're roughing.
Yeah, and that's going to be delivered at the end of this year. And we're hoping that is going to really put us on the map as far as putting it on our track record and hopefully using that to do more deals, whether it be in that city, the city of Gloucester City, or other
cities,
other towns, where we can show them like this is something that we've done. This is like something that we're really proud of, and we're hoping to get a really vibrant use on the ground floor. Ideally, like something that's going to have like sidewalk cafes on the table, bring some energy into the town, right? Because in this particular part, they're trying to revitalize it down, like make it a new downtown, right? Invite people in. So we think if we're able to do that, not just put a multifamily apartment somewhere, but bring some real life to the neighborhood, some economic rejuvenation. It tells a great story. It's something we're really proud of, and something we're hoping to be able to leverage going forward. So I mean, the completion of that, I'm really excited for, and then just like the overall implementation of a couple new softwares that we've been trying to identify and put into place for some time now. A lot of times these processes take a long time to put in, and you can't do them all at once, right? You have to do like one after the other, or else like nothing's going to get done.
Our rule is one a quarter, one every 90 days. You're doing better than 80% of businesses if you do one every 90 days.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing I really am looking forward to is Second Nature, which it provides a resident benefit package to the tenants, and it includes a number of different things, which is like credit building. Now all on-time rent payments are going to go to the 3 credit bureaus. Number 2 is rewards for on-time rent payments. They're going to get gift cards, and the greater the gift cards, for the more on-time rent payments they have. They could put their renter's insurance through there. They could get automatic air conditioner filter deliveries. So, and the reason why I chose them rather than doing it by myself is because it just doesn't make sense to try to build out processes like that where you already have streamlined people into place that could do it at a minimal cost, right? So we're really excited to roll that out. But, it's still a lot of work, right? Because you have to explain to the tenants what it is that they're getting, why we're doing it. We have to get all that lease agreement language from them, incorporate it into our lease, put it out, explain to all the property owners what we're doing and why we're doing, right? So it sounds great, and it is great. I think it's going to be really good. But no matter whatever you do, it comes with a lot of work if you're going to do it correctly, Yeah.
And you wouldn't be able to do it without a team. Yeah. Which we've grown. We have all grown, right? All grown. And it only is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger because we all have that mindset. So.
Absolutely. So one question that I have before we start to wrap up is 7 years from now, where do you see your partnership lying 7 years from now?
How many units do you think you're going to have under management?
Definitely 1,000 or more.
1,000 is too little. 7 years is a long time, dude. Maybe $5,000, 5,000.
See, I set goals that I know I'm going to hit, and then this jerk off just makes it impossible.
You're at 150.
He doesn't like to see me succeed. That's a problem.
Or maybe I push you to do better. I think 5,000.
5,000.
5,000
All right.
units under management.
Yep. Write it down, Alan.
Yeah.
Going
All
5,000.
Let's get that in here.
All right. It's only 500 a year.
Listen,
What's
there's
that?
people, again, it's all mindset. Your own limitation is within your mind. That's it. If you can perceive it, you can achieve it. Sort of, obviously within.
Honestly, the same thing that it sounds stupid and kind of naive, but I just want to the same thing that we're doing. I want to continue to grow, but at a slow pace, at a good pace, right? Because I don't want to.
What kind of pace is that, percentage wise? If you were to put a percentage on it.
Like 10% a year, maybe 10 to 15% per year, at a pace where I can slowly still put in processes and be extremely selective in the people that I hire, and fostering the culture that you want to keep in place. Because you see it all the time. A big company is a small company versus a big company, like 5 years later, it's totally different culture. People don't know each other. There is no culture, right? It's a very toxic work environment. People become way less productive, and then you have a lot of office politics, right? So I think it's very hard to manage multiple people and keep that alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the CEO's job. Make sure that never happens. I always say that any good growth, in my opinion, like unicorn growth is doubling. You can't double every year. I mean, you can in the beginning stages, but once you hit like year 5, 6, or 7, right? After that, it's like if you're still doubling, you're running really hot. Like your engine's running at like 9,000 RPM all the time, which is really, really bad. I think like a 20 to 30% year over year growth is very sustainable. You know, I think as long as what Tommy said is done, meaning you hire the right people, you have the right culture, you don't have politics in at the office, right? You have the same motivation, right? You know how to build your assets, reduce your liabilities, make sure that you're making money, making sure that you're keeping score, making sure you're setting goals, making sure you have quarterly meetings, making sure you have events, making you celebrate your wins and you celebrate your losses, even though if the loss is a loss, right? Because again, you're progressing. So I think that culture, it all leads back to culture and having the core values that, you know, everybody aligns. That's very important to have. I think that is the growth. But yeah, I think that on the property management side, since that's the topic of today, I think 5,000 units is definitely something that is very, very, very easily, I can see that happen. You know, is it all going to be in Jersey? Yes, I would assume so. Is it all going to be in Northeast Jersey? I'd hope so, but you never know. You know, maybe it's all over Jersey, maybe it's not. But I know of people that have done it, but you have to change your mindset, because if you're stuck on having that smaller scale mindset, you're never going to be able to expand your growth. But
Matt's going to commit to building 5,000 homes in the same time period. All right,
No,
that's the only way I'll
crazy.
agree to this.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's crazy. That's
Healthy
crazy.
cycle, healthy cycle.
I think
Those are he's going to build it, and
think
those are going to be the
like
5,000 under management.
if we're going to do 15 to 20 homes this year, right, approximately, then having 50 homes by
Wrap it up.
year 5
Yeah.
is going to be good. Having 50 homes by year 5 is pretty good. Again, homes is a little different, right? Not only because of the land restriction. I mean, where the fuck are you going to build 50 homes in Northeast Jersey? Right? You have to go somewhere else, east, west. I mean, west, south, southwest, somewhere where there's some land where you can put a street in or something like that, which is what we're starting to gear towards anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Alrighty, folks. Well, there we have it. 7 years from now, 5,000 units.
5,000 homes.
You heard it here first.
And 50 homes a year.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us for episode 4 of Moments in Construction. Again, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Matt, for your time. And we're excited to have you back at some point. I'd love to keep asking questions. But for now, thanks again. And don't forget to like our page, support us, follow. Talk to you soon.